the Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things.
With host Allison Nissen.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Florida Writer Podcast. Today I am lucky enough to have with me Bria Burton and my dog Jameson, who is walking behind me. Hopefully she won't bother us today, but Bria, why don't you give me a 60-second elevator pitch of who you are and what you write?
Hi, Allison. It's great to be here. So my name is Bria. I live in St. Petersburg, Florida with my husband, my son, and my two pets, one of which is a dog that also is behind me and hopefully won't bark. I think the cat will be fine. He's asleep somewhere. So I write speculative fiction primarily. So that would be fantasy, science fiction, horror. I also write some inspirational and some women's fiction. And I will mention the names of what my books are. So The Running Girls is one of my inspirational novelettes. It was a Royal Palm Literary Award semifinalist one year. Little Angel Helper is a novella that won a third place Royal Palm Literary Award. And Lance and Ringo Tails is a collection of short stories about my pets, Lance and Ringo. And it's humorous, family-friendly stories. There's 10 stories, and it was a lot of fun to write. So my novels that I've been working on and continue to attempt to get traditionally published, I have a couple that were unpublished Royal Palm Literary Award winners. And I just recently finished a science fiction novel that I was able to pitch to an agent at the Florida Writers Conference, and she is interested in taking a look at the full manuscript. So I'm very excited about that.
And what's the tagline for your novel?
So the novel that I pitched at the conference, the tagline would be, A Young Miss Marple meets Raiders of the Lost Ark 200 years in the future.
200 years in the future, and what does that look like?
Okay, so the story idea actually started with an aircraft. So the idea of like a futuristic high-tech aircraft. And what I came up with was this thing that I call an exometer. And it's a giant glass sphere, basically, that has like flooring. So there's a living area, there's a walled off kitchen, there's bedrooms. And when you're flying, it's this luxury to sit, you sit on a couch and you look out the window and can see the views from your exometer. And I believe my inspiration started for this story when I was on an airplane and just thinking about the fact that, gosh, airplanes could be different and they could be so much more comfortable if it could be like you were in your living room. So that was the kind of thread that started the idea of the story. And eventually I started thinking about who the character would be. And I came up with this flight attendant. Her name's Lana Gomez. And the future setting kind of is a post-World War III. It's not apocalyptic. It's not... it's also not dystopian. It's more optimistic, if you will. I guess that would be kind of the Raiders of the Lost Ark feel, adventure feel, and there's a treasure hunting character that she ends up with. So it's more adventure and mystery, even more so than the science fiction aspects. It's in the future and there is high tech, but that's not necessarily the focus of the story. It's more of like the backdrop.
Do you like reading mysteries?
Since October came around, I love getting into the spirit of, the holidays. So for October, I've been devouring Agatha Christie novels, just one after the other, and it's a lot of fun. They're very quick reads, so it's not hard to get through several of them. And so.
Do you find reading Agatha Christie, which is roughly, I don't even know, 100 years old, that the language is so different than it is now?
She has a real economy of words for her time, especially, I would say. So I find her to be very easy to read and easy to follow. There is occasional words that I will look up and go, oh, okay, I didn't know what that word meant. But I find the language to be pretty on the layman's level, if you will, for the most part. I think she's pretty easy to read.
I have there is what's it called? A Cooper's Hawk sitting on the fence right next to my window.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I'm glad I shut the back door.
Yes.
There's a picture in our neighborhood of one that flew through someone's window. I mean, can you imagine? These things are pretty big. I don't know
Oh,
how big they
yeah.
are. It's probably a good, it's probably about 14 inches tall with
Oh,
the, circumference that's about like this.
oh my gosh.
They're big birds. Anyway, I'm really digressing. This is just a crazy morning.
That's okay. At least the recording button is on.
I know, seriously. Oh my gosh, I am just such a head case today. So Bria, tell me about your short stories.
Okay, sure. So I've had several that have been published through literary magazines, speculative fiction anthologies, podcasts even, and most of them are fantasy, science fiction, a few horror stories. I don't write a ton of horror. When I do write horror, it tends to be like what most people would maybe call psychological thriller. But so yeah, I have several stories out there that were picked up by magazines and anthologies. And then I do have some that I have self-published as well. One that I wanted to mention just recently won a Royal Palm Literary Award. It's called Her Midnight Ride. And it was included in an anthology called the Prometheus Saga, Volume 2. So I'm part of a group of authors called the Alvarium Experiment, and we are essentially a collaboration that works together to independently publish anthologies. And we've done a little bit of a different format than most, where as a group, there'll be maybe at least 10 of us for each anthology. We've currently put out 4. And what we do first is we put out our stories as individual Kindle stories for 99 cents. And then later those get collected into the group anthology, which then is in, print and ebook edition later. So this story, Her Midnight Ride, I submitted to the RPLA, and this year it got the Silver Award for published novelette category. So I was very excited about that. And as I was walking off the stage at the banquet for the Royal Palm Literary Awards at the conference, a woman kind of intercepted me, and I'm kind of in this high of, yay, I won an award. And she kind of shook my hand and said, congratulations. And I just thought she was wishing me well. And it turns out, so my story is based on this woman named Sybil Ludington, who is a true figure of history from the Revolution, in fact. And this woman said to me, I am a direct descendant of Sybil Ludington's father. And that just blew me away. So I was really excited, first of all, to meet her and to have that encounter. It wasn't like I knew her or that she knew me, but my log line had come up on the screen and said, Sybil Ludington does a midnight ride similar to that of Paul Revere or something along that line. So she saw the name and went, oh my gosh, she wrote a story about my ancestor. And so she came up to me. And that was really special. So not only winning the award, but now I have someone to talk to when I write my next story for whenever we come out with the Prometheus Saga Volume 3. So
that is amazing. I think when we have the opportunity to meet people, I always believe there's a divine connection that the universe has put people together so that we can learn from each other. That is something that is very special.
Yes, definitely serendipity, I think, was a word you had used before.
Yes, it is totally serendipity. I love that. I love the story. I think it's fantastic. I would love to actually have that story of the meeting of this person. You should write that in some sort of blog.
Right. Yes, I definitely will be. Yeah. I've kind of come off the conference just like, working on getting my manuscript polished up to be sent to the agent. And after that, I think I'll be playing catch up on blogs and stuff like that.
When you were at the conference this last year, this is the Florida Writers Conference that we have every year with the Florida Writers Association, you were one of the faculty members.
Yes, I was. And it was such a great time. I enjoy that conference so much every year. I've gone for many, many years in a row. I only missed last year because I had a baby and was kind of navigating new momhood, but I'm back, and I'm pretty sure I'll be back every year from here forward. And yes, I was able to teach some workshops. And one of the workshops that I was part of was actually with some of those Alvarium Experiment authors, where we put together a self-publishing workshop called Overcoming the Self-Publishing Obstacle Course. And I was part 1, which was called Should I Self-Publish? Part 2 was Charles A. Cornell, and he did how do I self-publish? And part 3 with L. Andrews Pat was, I've self-published, now what? So that was a lot of fun. My workshop primarily focused on, asking yourself the questions of how to get started and what should I be doing myself? What should I be hiring other people to do? How can I have the highest quality products come from this? And because I have self-published a couple things, I was able to speak to some of that experience. With Little Angel Helper and the Running Girls and Lance and Ringo Tails. And then our group, those 3 authors, the 3 of us, plus a couple other Alvarium Experiment authors, did a panel called Overcoming the Self-Publishing Obstacle Course. And so we had a Q&A type panel that went really well. People seemed to really enjoy that and get a lot out of it. So that was my primary. And then I also taught Intro to Audio Production workshop. So I went over some free tools that you can use, like Audacity. And I know you mentioned you use Audacity as well.
I do use Audacity. That is correct.
So that was a fun workshop, just talking about podcasts and how you can do your own audiobook. If you really want to, you can narrate it yourself. And so we went over some of those basics. I mean, we had an hour, so it was kind of like you really do get the very basics in that amount of time. But it was also a great group who seemed very interested in exploring some of these audio options that we have as authors.
What do you think about audiobooks taking over the world of writing?
It's interesting because I listened to a podcast recently that was just talking about every year they do the statistics, and ebooks have been on the rise for quite some time, and then they go down a little bit and print books go back up. And in recent years, I guess audiobooks are the ones that's on the rise. And not to say that print books or ebooks are going away by any means. And I think that's what's so great, is to have another avenue. I mean, there's nothing wrong with more options for readers to get books in hands however they want them. So I think it's wonderful. I listen to audiobooks a lot as well. I listen to podcasts a lot. So it's, especially as a mom of a toddler, it's one of those great ways to get some reading done. I do really like audiobooks.
I do audiobooks. And then I have gotten into reading on my iPhone, which is, I feel like I was a hard-nosed, has to be paper book. And then I would be places and I want my book and it'd be midnight and I couldn't go shopping for one.
Right.
So you just open up some app and there it is.
Yeah, the convenience does have benefits. And I have a Kindle Paperwhite, and I really like the mimicking of a book that a Paperwhite is, where it's like on my iPhone, sometimes my eyes strain a little bit. On the Paperwhite, I don't have that issue. So I really appreciate having that for reading. But I'm the same way. I love my print books as well. So I have them all. I don't just necessarily limit myself, but I also appreciate the convenience of ebooks and audiobooks.
Tell me about the stories of your pets.
Oh, okay. So Lance and Ringo are quite the animals. It started with, I'm working on a fantasy novel, for example, this is one that was one of the unpublished winners of the RPLA. So I'm working on my fantasy novel. I'm trying to focus, and my pets are doing things that are just distracting me. So I have this blanket on the floor, and Lance has grabbed the blanket in his mouth, and Ringo has jumped on the back. That's the cat. The cat is Ringo. Lance is the dog. And Lance just runs in circles around the house, dragging the cat until he runs him into a wall. It's these kind of things that get me going, okay, you guys, okay, I've got to write stories about you. And the cat is one who I don't think he thinks he's a cat. I think he must think he's something else, but he, just has so many funny behavioral things. Like, he wrestles with the dog. Now, Lance is about 60 pounds. He's an English Springer Spaniel. Ringo is like a 14-pound. He's a pretty big cat, actually. He's very fluffy, gray. He was born in an alley. I mean, he's, your legitimate alley cat. But he can hold his own. So they have these wrestling matches, and Ringo gives as much as he takes. So, I mean, it's been a lot of fun to have these pets, first of all. And then I just started thinking about what could be going on in their heads. And that's where these stories came from. So.
And is the point of view from the pets?
So there's different sections. So like there'll be a section where I'm explaining things as the human, and then it's Lance's section where he goes over, the event from his perspective, and then we see Ringo's perspective. And I have it kind of like an interview set up in each story where at the very beginning, I'm the human interviewing Lance and Ringo. And at the end, we have the conclusion of the interview. So kind of a different setup, but still the same idea where we're getting inside Lance and Ringo's heads and what they're really thinking.
And where can we find these stories? Because they sound fascinating.
So my website is briaburton.com, and I do not sell my books from my website, but all the links are on there. So if you go to my books and stories link, they're right there collected in the Lance and Ringo Tails print book collection, which you can also get as an ebook. And I just started narrating the stories actually. So what I'm potentially planning to do, I have one story that I put out for Halloween because the story was a Halloween based story. It's a family friendly, not so spooky Halloween type story. And Lance and Ringo are upset that their humans want to dress them up for Halloween. So I went ahead and narrated that for this Halloween and put it out on the Lance and Ringo Tails blog. So that's Lance and Ringo Tails. The "and" is spelled out and Tails is spelled like Tails. lanceandringotales.blogspot.com. So that story is free to listen to right there on the blog. And what that made me realize is that I think I want to go ahead and just narrate these stories over the next year, put them all out as a podcast where they'll be on the blog right there or on iTunes and have it available. So for now, you can also buy the individual stories for 99 cents each. And that's, again, at my website. You can click on the individual if you just want to try out one of the stories and read one of them, or you can get the whole collection.
Well, that's amazing. First of all, I love animal stories because I'm an animal lover. But
Me too.
I also think animals are so creative because they don't have there's a word I was looking for in my brain and it's not coming to me. They
don't have inhibitions.
Yes, they don't have inhibitions like we do. And so they just do what they want to do.
Right.
And then they look at you like, what? I'm not the one who ate that whole bag of flour that's sitting on the floor. And I think that's a lot of fun. Anyway, and Bria, this has been a lot of fun.
This has been great. And if I can just mention, I'm also on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram. You'll find my handle at Bria Burton. On my Facebook fan page, it's at briaburton.writer page. And that's where you can click like this page type page versus the add as a friend page. And then all the others, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, I'm at Bria Burton. And you will find me there as well. And on my website, there is a place to subscribe to my e-newsletter. And if you do that, you will get a free copy of The Running Girls.
Well, we love free stuff.
Yes.
I'm always up for a free book. That's awesome. And I want to know if you're ready to switch to our rapid fire questions.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Because you've never heard these questions before.
Nope, definitely not.
What was your favorite toy as a child?
Okay, favorite toy was definitely Barbies. I played with them till I was like 12. And I think it helped with my writing because I was kind of telling stories with Ken and Barbie and what are they doing today? And so that was something that I always loved writing from a young age, and I think that helped.
Did you give Barbie haircuts?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes.
I had every Barbie in my collection by the time I was 12 had no hair.
Yeah.
I kept thinking I would be a hairstylist, and that never panned out. But Barbies, I got to practice a lot on my Barbie dolls. Do you collect anything?
So I think my husband would say that I collect running shoes. I work at a running store called St. Pete Running Company, and having the discount as an employee is kind of dangerous. So yes, I think I do collect running shoes. I have quite a lot.
And how many do you think you have?
I think I have at least 15 pairs, and maybe that doesn't sound like a lot, but generally I'm not a shoe collector. Like I have friends who collect like tons and tons of shoes. So that's not like a normal thing for me to collect. So that's why it is like a collection in my case.
All right. And what chore do you hate doing?
I'm going to say cooking, and I don't know that people think of cooking as a chore, but I kind of do. So that's probably the one that I struggle with the most.
Well, tonight I'm making short ribs, and I'm
Oh.
throwing them in a crock pot with a can of Coca-Cola and some barbecue sauce.
Okay, I love those easy recipes though, so that I do love to eat. So, I mean, cooking kind of comes with the territory. So it is helpful to have those nice throw in the crock pot things that the cooking kind of gets done by another device.
That is true. You know, I started enjoying cooking once I took a cooking class.
That's probably something that would help me, honestly. I should think about that.
Well, Bria Burton, thank you so much for stopping by.
And thank you. I really appreciate your time. This has been great.
This is Allison Nissen, your host for the Florida Writer Podcast. Allison out.
Award-winning author Bria Burton lives in St. Petersburg with her husband, her son, and 2 pets. Her fiction has appeared in over 20 anthologies and magazines. She has independently published 2 inspirational novellas, Little Angel Helper, a 2016 Royal Palm Literary Award winner, and The Running Girls. In 2019, her Midnight Ride won an RPLA in the published novelette categories. For more information about Bria Burton, visit her on the web at briaburton.com. For more information about the Florida Writers Association, visit us at floridawriters.net.